Hi and welcome. My name is Jody from Kokana Public Library, and we are so glad that you are joining us for experiencing art for beginners with watercolor landscapes. So I'm just going to go through what you might have received in your kits. If you don't have a kit, and you have these materials at home, you are welcome to join us as well. So this is the palette that you've got. It's just a basic watercolor set with just the basic colors, and then you received all kinds of different sizes of paper, and today you can join me by using any size that you want, maybe using some of the smaller sizes to practice with, and then maybe when you're done, going ahead and finishing with the piece of paper that I went ahead and I taped off for you. It's a great reveal when we're done. So I'll go ahead and use this today, and let's get started. All right, so what you're going to do to begin with is start with your container of water, which you should always have when you are working with watercolors. And we have a clear container right now that we're going to start with. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and dip your brush in a lot of water, load up your brush with a lot of water, and we're going to actually just apply wet all the way across the middle of your canvas with just clear water. And I'm not going on the top nor the bottom, I'm really just wetting down just the middle. That middle part is going to be horizontal strokes. Those are going to be our horizon lines. And then we're going to start with the lightest color that you choose. Today I'm going to start with yellow. There are lots of different color schemes. You've got some examples that are in the beginning of this video, and then some of the things that are that came home with you. So we're going to start with yellow, and then we're going to move to, of course, orange. So we'll go ahead and get just the yellow on first. So what's wonderful about watercolor is it seems as if my brush is drying out. However, watercolor can reactivate. So if you just wet the brush, go over the lines that you had already laid down on the canvas, the paint seems to reactivate. So we'll go ahead and work with some orange now. So we'll go ahead and try to blend the orange into the yellow on both sides, top and bottom. And then we'll do a little bit more. We're layering because we're going to go for a sunset, sunrise kind of a look. Go a little bit more orange, and then I am going to go for a little bit of red and then purple at the top. Little bit of red on the top and bottom, just a small line. And then I really want to finish up my sky with some purple and maybe some blue. So I'm just dipping in the water and the paint, and the water and the paint, back and forth with the water and the paint. So here's my purple, but then I really want to lay down some blue. So water and blue paint, water, a little more blue paint, really kind of getting it up there all the way to the top and right up to the edge of the paint. And then at the bottom, the blue. So if you can kind of see, I've got some real distinct lines and delineation between the colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to blend with just a little bit more water within some of those lines. And I'm going to go from dark to light with a little bit more water on the brush. And hopefully we can get some of those to blend in. So I'm going to just show you really quick. You can really get that blended if you do a little bit of color and water on the edges. Let's say I have some red missing, clean it off, get some orange, put it down, maybe a little bit of purple as well. So this is what you can do to try to go ahead and blend it all back in there. So this is kind of just about at the end of where I want to be. I just need a little bit more yellow in there on this bottom part. Just go back and clean up any parts that you see that there may need more color. Cleaning it off pretty much each time that you get a new color, and then going back in with just the water on the brush and blending those colors. All right, so I'm gonna just drag some of that orange back in there. And this side I feel like needs to get cleaned up a little bit too. Make sure it's all the way off to the edge. All right. There we go. All right, so at this point, you are gonna pick up your canvas and you are just gonna wave it just a little bit and get it aired out just a little bit. And you can wave it in the air nice and high. But what we're gonna do next is as we're drying, we're really going to go back over and get a horizon line in there with very thick black paint, which is exactly contrast of what we have just done with all of this watered down paintbrush and paint color. So we're going to get a very thick, line of black on our paint, because we are going to create the illusion of a horizon line. And in this one, I think we're going to work for a little bit of a mountainscape, if you can see that. So the mountainscape, we're going to go a little bit thinner, or not so much mountain in the middle. That way we can kind of create a little bit of a vanishing point. This would be the vanishing point on the horizon line. And this, we are going to just make it look like it is part of a water reflection. So that's the easiest way to do a landscape for beginners, is to act like this is a reflection here on this side. So if you're ready, go ahead and finish up whatever you've done and try to dry off your canvas by waving it around, and then we'll begin with the black, getting the paintbrush loaded with a lot of black paint. So we'll go ahead and dip our brush in the water, and you're gonna circle the paintbrush around in the water and get that black activated. And you're gonna circle and circle quite a bit in the black pigment until you lift the brush and don't see anything dripping off the brush when you kind of thump it down. And that we'll know that that's a pretty good line. And if you want to test it, go ahead and see what kind of, if you don't see any opaque or clear, I should say, line when you draw it across the palette, then that's a nice, big, thick, loaded brush. We'll be doing that quite often as we go through the horizon line. So we're going to be going straight across as you possibly can. And then when we're done, I'm going to tell you that we may need to actually reverse our canvas. And I'll tell you why when we're finished. What you're going to do is you're going to try to go in the middle of your lightest color. I chose yellow to be my lightest color, so I'm going to look for the middle, and then I'll begin. I'll begin with a nice line in the middle of my yellow. As soon as you feel that black beginning to fade, go back to your palette and pick up some more black pigment. All right, so this is a perfect example of why I am probably going to need to flip our canvas around. If you can see, my paintbrush drags nice and evenly at the top, but already I see that there could be a little bit of a mountainscape that I can use on the bottom. So I'm literally gonna flip my canvas around so that this becomes my mirror image, or my water or lake reflection. So if you can see, that has automatically kind of already told me where I'm gonna have my mountain, if that makes sense. If that didn't happen for you and you've got a nice straight line on the bottom, just go ahead and use that. But I went ahead and I flipped my canvas around. All right, so we'll dip that brush back in the water, get a little bit more black, and we'll go for whatever kind of mountainscape that you want. And you're just gonna drag it up and down, just a little, starting from one side, going towards the middle. All right, and then as soon as you feel that paint start to fade, go ahead and dip back in to your palette, to your pigment, to your black pigment. All right, and if you need a little bit of water to activate that color again, go ahead and get a little bit on the tip, and then go back to that horizon line. So I've got a little bit of a mountain here. I'm just gonna leave that, and then I'm gonna come and do some on the other side. Again, that is to create a vanishing point, the illusion of a vanishing point. And a vanishing point is almost always in a piece of art along the horizon line, because that is our natural visual when anything here on our planet is the horizon line. Of course, when you are talking abstract, that is going to be completely different. But in this case, this is a natural landscape. So our vanishing point is always going to be the horizon of this world, which, believe it or not, is kind of a principle in art that really does not change unless you're really doing something abstract. Okay, so I think I'm kind of happy with the way I've got some of these mountains. Hopefully you guys are nearing the end. I'll give it a few more minutes. I might dry it just a little bit with, I don't know, a piece of paper, just a little bit. Because then we're going to work on how the reflection looks in what we're going to consider our water, the surface of our water. So let's go ahead and dry our brush off, or rinse and dry our brush off and get it nice and dry. And what we're going to do is we're going to test out how we are going to create an illusion of a reflection. Here I'm just going to show you in my finished work that the illusion of the reflection comes in when you crosshatch. I don't know if you can see this, but my brush strokes are going down from the horizon line. This is actually a tree line, not rocks, but from the horizon line, and I'm doing crosshatch because then I go back over it horizontally. So I'm vertical hashing from the horizon line and then cross hatching horizontally. So we're going to try a little bit of this on our mountainscape, and I see a hole in my mountain. I got to fix that because that's bugging me. There's a hole right there. All right, so let's dry it off one more time. Okay, so go ahead and dry your brush off. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to test how much can you pull from the existing black with the lightest strokes going down and then lifting back up the page. Okay, so I am really using light lifting strokes vertically, going from the horizontal line and going down. And as I go down, I lift all the way up. So lift that brush up. Don't go all the way down, you lift up, because the key thing is our mirror image. We want to almost simulate the height of the mountain as far as how far down you're going to drag your shadow. So I'm dragging this part down a little farther than I will over here. So now my strokes are going to get much shorter, and that will create the illusion that the mountains are being reflected in the water. So you can go ahead and, as light as you possibly can, go ahead and follow the horizon line, making the strokes longer as the mountains are higher, shorter as the mountains go down. If you can see, just follow that horizon line all the way across and just make sure all of your vertical hash marks mirror what the mountains are doing above. We're almost done. Hopefully you've been successful at trying to get a very faint stroke, but that's why if you want to just practice on this first piece of paper that you have, it would be great if by the second time you can kind of master this, because this is the lightest of strokes coming down here. I'm really not doing a lot. So hopefully that works out for you. I am going to kind of wet my brush a little bit, dab it not quite dry, and then I'm going to go over everything I just did with horizontal back and forth right near the horizon line. I'm really not dragging it down just yet because I'm really kind of feeling out how does my brush play with this. And then I'll go ahead and drag it down past those vertical lines that went a little bit farther down as the mountains went up in the sky. And that is literally pretty much all we're doing for a very, very simple landscape. And this is a mirror image or a reflection landscape. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead And we are going to peel this off nice and slowly. Sometimes it takes the paper off. Most of the time it's pretty good because it is painter's tape, but I still don't really, I really don't do it very fast. I try to do it nice and slow. So as we take it off, some of the edges could be a little bit wet, and that's another reason why it might end up taking some paper off with it. So far so good. And then it just kind of really makes the painting stand out and give it a lot of sharpness to the edges, and kind of builds in a little bit of a framed appearance too. And there you have it. Hopefully you guys can work with any kind of color palette that you want. Oranges, you can go greens, yellows, blues, maybe lots and lots of purple. I just want to draw your attention. This one I did exactly the opposite. This one I actually went darker to lighter, and I think this is going to, I don't know, this one pops in a different way. I actually like this a lot. So you can do it any way you'd like. You've got a lot of different pieces of paper to play with, so hopefully you guys enjoy.